And welcome everyone to a March Madness chat. I'm Andy Katz, pleased to be joined by NCAA Senior Vice President Dan Gavitt. The top 16 reveal, a tradition now in the March Madness lead up. And I'm just going to run through real quick, Dan, just get this out of the way, a little housekeeping. Your ones, essentially 1 through 4, Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan, Ohio State. Then we go Illinois, Villanova, Alabama, Houston, then Virginia, West Virginia, Tennessee, Oklahoma. Then the last 4, Iowa, Texas Tech, Texas, and Missouri. Now, without having the traditional geographic regions, Dan, the thinking was, okay, true S-curve. But, of course, that can't happen because then that would potentially put Ohio State, Illinois, and Iowa in a same region, all from the Big Ten. So, Dan, as you look at this with a heavy Big Ten, Big 12, SEC, how does that change the straight S-curve bracketing?
Sure. The committee, announced that they would use the S-curve this year, not being in 4 different geographic regions. Makes perfect sense to create as much of a balanced bracket as possible. But we are keeping in place, keeping conference opponents in different regions if they are seeded in the top 4 seed lines. So as a result of that, as you note, Andy, there's not a perfect S-curve here because there are 3 conferences with multiple teams in the top 4 seed lines, the Big 12 with 5, the Big 10 with 4, and the SEC with 3. And so we have spread those teams out per protocol, and the result is a really balanced top 16 in 4 different regions, but not a true S-curve.
So continuing on the fact that we've got, these high-level 16 teams for this snapshot in time, this also speaks to the fact that all of these teams have already crossed that threshold of the minimum 13 games that was put in place because we had to start the season 2 weeks later due to, obviously, COVID. From what I understand, Dan, the numbers are pretty good in terms of how many teams have already crossed that threshold and actually may get above 20. What do the numbers tell you?
Yeah, I think we're in a pretty good place, Andy, given the challenges of this season and the pauses that resulted of COVID issues. We have 84% of all the teams that are eligible and playing this season already at the 13 game minimum number. Only 53 teams left, most of those close in the 11-12 range. So we're confident they're going to get there before conference tournament play starts. And there's also a waiver process for those that may not be able to get to that number. So those teams, of which there are 330 plus that are playing this season and trying to play their way into the NCAA tournament, we're pretty confident that nearly all of them, if not all, will be eligible once we start selection week.
So, all right, so there's a deadline, February 26th. That's when each conference has to tell the selection committee how they will determine their automatic qualifier. And that, for the most part, has been the case. I mean, a conference in years past could have said, you know what, we're not going to give you the tournament champ, we're going to give you the regular season champ. It's obviously magnified because of COVID this season. Where's the committee right now on that deadline and what may or may not occur with conference tournaments, which will wrap up already a month from this weekend?
Well, we, the committee made a statement here just yesterday, acknowledging the flexibility that's already been provided with the AQ determination. And really, that flexibility is an additional year. Normally, conferences have to submit their designation for their AQ, whether it's a regular season champion or conference tournament champion, and the details around the conference tournament a year ago this month. This year's deadline is February 26th, providing the greatest amount of flexibility in these challenging and uncertain times. I think the committee feels good about that flexibility that's been provided, and ultimately that this is a conference and institutional decision, that the committee feels like participation in conference tournaments is important, made the statement that they are encouraging, if conferences are having a tournament, participation by all those teams that qualify for their conference tournament and are eligible for the NCAA tournament, for the good of the game, to honor the challenges that student athletes and coaches and staff have made this year to play a full season, and to provide the greatest opportunity for selection seeding and bracketing for the NCAA tournament.
And Dan, I just want to wrap up with this. I think all of us mark these points in the calendar of like a reset, or even just like, we love the fact, okay, now we're getting ready to bracket. We're all a bit bracket nerdy in our own way. I'm just curious, what was it like for you, and maybe any, with the committee members that you were with, to be back in that environment, knowing that you are bracketing for a tournament after, missing it last year, and the obviously, incredible hope and optimism that we're going to have a great tournament in a month's time?
Well, first and foremost, we were so happy to see each other. It was the first time we'd all been together since that fateful day last year of March 12th when the 2020 tournament was canceled. So it was really good to be together in Indianapolis. Of course, we practiced physical distancing and wore masks during the entire meeting. But nevertheless, it was just great to be together and talking basketball and talking about this successful season, this incredible effort that's being made by all these excellent teams that are in the top 16 and been recognized as such today, at least as of today. We know a lot will change in the next 4 weeks, but really exciting to be talking about basketball and March Madness again, and can't wait for an incredible, historic, and unique 2021 tournament.
Appreciate it, Dan. Stay safe.
Thanks, Andy. Be well.